Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to tell you where the top 10 free agents will be playing football next season if they don't return to their current team. If you're new to the channel and like this kind of content, please consider subscribing and follow me on the socials listed below. Let's get into it. I'm Rex. Let's talk football. NFL free agency is such a fun time of year. Over the next month, there will be so many rumors about where the big quarterbacks will be traded, and for my predictions on those, check the link in the description. But today I want to focus on the top 10 free agents and where I think they will be playing next season if they're not playing for their current team. Because let's face it, someone re-signing with their team just isn't fun, so we'll ignore that as an option for the sake of the video. There are many top 10 lists out there for free agents, but the one constant is Davante Adams sitting at number 1. I'm using Pro Football Focus's list because I like their content. The rest of the free agents we will be covering are Teron Armstead, Chris Godwin, Chandler Jones, Von Miller, J.C. Jackson, Mike Williams, Marcus Williams, Orlando Brown, and Allen Robinson. Before I can make any predictions about where the free agents will end up, we have to have a reasonable understanding of the salary cap situation for each team. Thank you to All Sports Culture for their great graphic with the projected cap space for each team. So if you are a fan of the Saints, Packers, Cowboys, or Vikings, and are hoping to hear me predict these top free agents signing with your team, you're probably going to have to find another video. Until they do something to free up space and get out of the negative, I just don't think they can reasonably do that. Meanwhile, the Chargers, Dolphins, Jaguars, Commanders, first time saying that in a video, and Bengals will have plenty of cash to spend, but can they attract players of this caliber? Some can. Others, I'm not so sure. Let's get into it. First and most important, because he will likely set the wide receiver market for the foreseeable future, Davante Adams. He will want to go to a contender because that's what he's always been. I know he wants to get a Super Bowl ring, though, to cement his legacy. As with all of these players, it is most likely they return because their teams don't want them to go anywhere else, but I truly believe that Adams ends up wherever Aaron Rodgers goes. If you watched my quarterback prediction video, link in the description, you'll know that I predicted Rodgers to be traded to the Denver Broncos. The Broncos have plenty of cap room and can free up a little more with some veteran cuts, so the money won't be an issue. If Rodgers ends up there, then it immediately becomes an attractive location for Adams to follow. I think this match makes a lot of sense for both parties and would make them another scary team in the AFC West. Teron Armstead. He's been an absolute monster and a stalwart at the left tackle position for the Saints over the last 9 years. With their current cap situation, even if he wanted to return, I don't think that they could afford him. This is the perfect time for Armstead to get out of New Orleans with no quarterback in sight and Sean Payton retiring. See you in Dallas in 2023, Sean. As far as teams that need a left tackle, there are a lot. It's arguably the most important position on offense behind quarterback. Some teams that immediately come to mind with bad offensive lines are the Bears, Steelers, and Colts. But one team that I think makes the most sense for Armstead, from how much money they could afford, and the fact that they're a winning team, as of this year at least, are the Cincinnati Bengals. They passed on Penei Sewell last year in the draft to get Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow could definitely use a blindside protector. As mentioned earlier, they also have near to the top of the league in cap space, so it's a perfect marriage for me. On to Chris Godwin. Prior to Brady retiring, I would have probably told you that it's almost a lock that Godwin returns to Tampa. Now, who knows? He could chase a big paycheck, although it will likely be slightly smaller due to the fact that he's had recent injury history. He could go find another top 5 quarterback to play for, or he could go somewhere that he's going to be the man for a couple seasons to build his stats and possibly chase another contract. There will be plenty of teams vying for his services. Teams like the Steelers, who are likely losing Juju Smith-Schuster, the Bears, who are likely losing Allen Robinson, and the Browns, who are just looking for someone that they thought OBJ would be. I, however, am predicting that Chris Godwin goes to a team with a promising young quarterback who did a lot with very little around him last year. Chris Godwin will go to the Patriots and be the number 1 target for Mack Jones. Chandler Jones is a dynamic pass rusher and should have a good amount of suitors. He had 5 sacks in a single game to start off last season, but just didn't match that productivity the rest of the way. He'll be best suited on a team that doesn't need him for all 3 downs, but would use him for pass rushing situations so he can just pin his ears back and get after the quarterback. The Steelers, Dolphins, and Chargers are consistently mentioned as the top landing spots for Jones. I agree with these teams and think that Jones would likely choose the Chargers based on location and the fact that they're a team on the rise, while the other two teams seem to be treading water. I think Von Miller is in the same boat as Jones, but maybe has a more attractive name when it comes to fans. If the Rams can make the money work and want him back, I'd assume Miller returns to LA, since playing in a Super Bowl has to be the best recruiting tactic you can ever have. However, we aren't playing that game in this video, so I believe he's going to attract attention from many contenders. The Bucs reportedly had interest in him last season. We've already mentioned the Chargers being in the hunt for an edge rusher. But I think Von Miller would do something crazy, especially if other moves happen as I have predicted, and I think he returns to Denver, where he started his career. Moving on to J.C. Jackson of the Patriots. Probably the least known name to this point, but he's considered by some to be a top 10 cornerback in the league. In recent years, it could be argued that having a lockdown corner is more important than a dynamic pass rusher based on the number of plays a game they directly impact. There have been reports and rumors that the Raiders, Giants, and Ravens would be pursuing Jackson in free agency. Between these three teams, if the money were the same, I think the choice would be easy to go with the Ravens. They're the best set up to win now and have an already solid defense, so I predict J.C. Jackson to the Ravens. Mike Williams has always been underrated in my opinion. The man just knows how to make contested catches and is an insane deep threat. The Chargers would be dumb to let him walk, but since they can't sign him for the purposes of our video, I think that he'll be targeted by a good number of teams that missed on Adams and Godwin. His ability to stretch the field makes him perfect to go across from an already dynamic wide receiver so that he's not heavily covered. I think the Washington Commanders make a lot of sense. They'd have him across from Terry McLaurin, and if Curtis Samuels can come back healthy, he'd be a great in the slot and out of the backfield as he's meant to be used. Moving from Mike Williams to Marcus Williams. No relation, I don't think. Marcus is a top safety in the league and would be ready for a payday worthy of his talent. The Saints can no longer afford him, or really much of anybody on their roster at all. So Marcus being the top safety available will have lots of teams kicking the tires and gauging mutual interest. I think you'll see some top contenders reach out in the Cowboys, Chiefs, and 49ers. But the Chiefs have the most money and are ready to get back to the promised land now. The Cowboys are in salary cap hell, and the 49ers are changing quarterbacks, so their future doesn't feel as safe as the Mahomes-led Chiefs. That's where I think Marcus Williams ends up. Next up, we have Orlando Brown. The greatest intrigue for Brown is that he's only 25 years old, so he could be the long-term answer for a team at the left tackle spot. Because of that fact and how good he's been, I fully expect the Chiefs to go all in to keep him in place, and he'll likely want to stick around as long as the money is okay. But that's not happening today. The teams that swing and miss on Armstead will be interested in Brown. If he doesn't stay in KC, then I see him ending up in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin to protect whatever quarterback they bring in to revamp the franchise. Last but certainly not least, we have Allen Robinson. He had a down year, but so much of that can be attributed to him just being on the Chicago Bears. I truly believe he leaves Chicago. He's probably already sold whatever home he had there and is out of town. He wants to be somewhere with a quarterback and some other talent around him. I think he will have plenty of options, some more attractive than others. If the Chargers let Mike Williams get out of town, though, I see that they are the ones that bring in Allen Robinson. Teaming up with Justin Herbert and being able to get next to Keenan Allen would keep the Chargers' offense ticking. Well, that's the top 10 NFL free agents for 2022. I would love to know your predictions down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like rating and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.